Hey, good evening, everyone. Tuesday's thoughts. Back again, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, the 24th. Yep, 24th of October, nearly Christmas. 2 months away now, 8 weeks. Anyway, let's not even go there at the moment. But just to say welcome to those who may be listening live and those on catch up, maybe days, weeks, or even months later than my original time. But really good to see that you're here. I'm just waiting for one person just to give a nod and a wink to say that, yeah, we're on board and we're going to crack on with this evening's session. The continuation of how, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's stuck in a past relationship. So my sound engineer is traveling this evening, so she may not be able to get. And I'm just waiting patiently just for one person to say that, oh, there's a few people. Just need to know that you're on it, and then I can crack on with this evening's session. So I just want to know that I can be heard loud and clear. I'm assuming I am. StreamYard is a brilliant platform. Yeah, good evening, Sonia. StreamYard is a brilliant platform. So with one platform, it does four at the same time for me: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and my YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is picking up slowly. People who haven't got access to, or they've decided not to be on Facebook. So we're going to be continuing with our session this evening on living with somebody. You're with somebody, but they're stuck in a past relationship. They want to be with you. You want to be with them, and you know the whole thing around how do we help individuals. Now, I'll just give a quote as I did last week. So by somebody called Tadouse. If you help your partner learn their lessons by showing what mature love feels like, they will be more open to letting go of the past. But you must also look out for the signs that you may be, in fact, fighting a losing battle. Sometimes it is just not meant to be. Some of us have a tendency when we're in relationships, we keep going at it, but actually the relationship has kind of ended, and you need to kind of give it up. And some people will get into it, see the signs, and they're not going to spend any time. They're off out of it. And sometimes that's the best way to be. Sometimes some people struggle, but that would be good. Good evening, Jeff, and anyone else who's watching live, and anybody else who's watching later on catch up, as I get to hear from people from time to time on LinkedIn. So we looked at a few things last week. So we're looking at some of the things that you can do to help individuals. How do you help somebody in a relationship? So understanding people who've experienced relationship trauma, and it could be that somebody you're with, lovely individual, but their previous relationship or relationships have been really, really bad, and you're with them now. They want to be with you. They want to work through some stuff. How then do you handle that situation? So we looked at some symptoms. We looked at some physical symptoms. We looked at some relationship difficulties last week, and then we started looking at signs in the partner, and we looked at the impact of relationship trauma on intimacy and commitment. So there's this kind of push-pull. Sometimes people fear they want to be in a relationship, but then it really scares them. There's somebody I know, a lovely woman, who quite clearly, when she talks about past relationships, her body changes, she grimaces. Good evening, Jerry. Good to see you this evening. Her face grimaces, but she's on dating sites, so it's clear that she wants to be in a relationship, but there's lots of anxiety, bad experiences around relationships. As I said, lovely woman, but has had some difficult relationships. So one of the things that we can do, we'll kick off with this evening's support. So how do you support your partner, or it could be your spouse, through trauma recovery? So here's some of the things you can do. One of the things you can do is educate yourself about the effects of relationship trauma. Sometimes what we do, I think somebody said to me years ago, you know, Delroy, there's no excuse now for us to be without knowledge. There is stuff that we can learn about so many different things. Our friend said to me some years ago, YouTube, there's good on YouTube, there's bad on YouTube. There's really some excellent stuff on YouTube. Diary of a CEO, stuff with Richard Raw, stuff with Jordan Peterson, Mel Robbins. There's some excellent material. Gabor Mate, there's some brilliant material how to learning about trauma. Some of these people, they've spent 30, 40 years working with victims of trauma, and in a podcast, they can give you information. If you're not a reader, The information on the podcast can be really helpful. So educate yourself about relationship trauma and its effects. So at least you know what to look out for. One of the things you need to do as well in the relationship, you create a safe space. How do you do that? You listen loads without judging or criticizing or condemning or want to fix. And I remember an old guy told me years ago, he didn't even know I was a counselor at the time, but years ago he said to me, Delroy, listening is learning. And 40 years on, he's pushing up daisies, has done since years ago. But he said, listening is learning. And so one of the things that you can do if you're with somebody who's really stuck in past relationship is to listen loads without interruption and so forth. So, and also seek professional help if needed. You know, sometimes we get into a situation and we don't know what to do to move forward. I'll be coming back onto that a little bit later. So, and also one of the things, you're not there to take your partner's trauma. Your partner's trauma is their trauma. You can't take it on. You're there to be supporting them, setting the boundaries and so forth, protecting yourself, protecting them, setting boundaries, be supported, but you can't take it on because it's their trauma. So listening is learning, help them to feel understood, believed, taken seriously. How many of us, you know, we sometimes underestimate the power of listening. I remember going to my doctors in my early 50s and I must have spent maybe 45 minutes with it. He was well over time, but I have never forgot this doctor's ability to listen to me. And he listened really, really well. And he was very, very good. He highlighted, said, Delroy, all the things we spoke about, the only time you became animated was when we started talking about property and property development. And I laughed at that because I should have been doing something else and so forth and so forth. So this whole thing about listening, and those of you that are listening this evening, do not underestimate the power of being able to actively listen to a friend or someone who is in desperate need. So when people talk, they want to be understood, believed, taken seriously, and they're heard. And there's no shortcut to this whole thing of recovery. You may be, in fact, one of the things you may not realize, you may be with somebody who have never had anybody listen to them. So you're providing a space for them that they possibly never had before, because the previous partner was violent, was shouted at them, never enabled them to talk. So do not underestimate the amount that you're doing by listening. And when the person's able to get through that, they can't thank you enough. Not that you did much, but you listened well to them and you believe them. You listened to their stories. So how then do we overcome the challenges of dating someone? Again, please, if you're on it, please feel free to ask a question or comment. Also, just to add, I'll just put it here, there's tickets are still available. I've got a training session on the Saturday, the 11th of November in Warsaw. You click onto the link. The link's in the chat. It's certainly in Facebook and on YouTube. And certainly, if you go onto Eventbrite, it's there. Betrayal from Consequences to Recovery. It's there. It's 5 hours. The cost is there. It's very interactive. I've limited it to 22 people so that it's close, it's intimate. It's a safe space for individuals to work through stuff around being betrayed when they were young, and work through, understand the impact it would have had on your early childhood, your young adulthood, and maybe impacting your relationships even now as I speak. So I'll make mention of that towards the end. So dating somebody with relational trauma, challenging, because what you have to do, you have to learn to navigate their triggers and managing anxiety. So you could be with them, and you might say something totally innocent, but it's triggered off something for them. So part of, sometimes if they then snap at you, the danger, of course, you snap back at them. And then the issue then is not the relationship trauma, it's how this person's getting at you. So what you understand from what I'm saying already, to be really effective in such a relationship, you need lots of patience, resilience, compassion, kindness, care. But it's also helping you as well to be a better human being. So some challenges can lead us, and one of the things about the challenges, of course, it leads us to growth and understanding. Sometimes, and all of us listening, whether you're listening live or later on, all of us want to grow. All of us want to be better, but we don't sometimes want to go through the hassle, the pain, the difficulties, the trauma of the things we need to go through to grow, to mature, to develop, and be kind of better human beings. So how does so one of the things, of course, is that if you have a partner who's stuck in a relationship trauma and there are triggers, one of the things you can ask them is, how do you want to be supported? And you in kind can also say, listen, when this is going on for you, this is going on for me, and this is what I'd like you to do. So in a sense, you're there to support the person, but also they need to know that you need to support them. They need to support you in the relationship as well. It's not a one-way street. One of the things about one-way street relationship is that the person who's giving gets burnt out, gets absolutely burnt out. I just wanted to say that my background at the minute, I'm having where I'm at the minute is all has been redecorated and things have been shifted around. So in the next couple of weeks, I should be back in a new office space, and hopefully the background will be a lot better and not as plain as this. So dating someone with relationship trauma, it's going to take time before they feel even comfortable or safe. So for the first few weeks or first few months, or maybe for the first few years, really difficult in settling, feeling comfortable. Somebody just said, Claire, listen, you're here. Don't worry. This is not school. So there's no, is it not merit marks? What were the marks you got for being naughty or for late at school? I can't even remember now. So yeah, no worries about that. And if you need to nip to the loo, you don't need to ask me. Just go. So really good to see you, Claire, and anyone else who is watching this evening. So dating with somebody with relationship trauma, it's going to take time. And you have to create, and it's going to take time before they even feel comfortable, even safe with you. It takes time, but listen, validate their feelings, even if you don't understand them. Sometimes we think we have to understand everything, but actually we don't. Spots, right, spots. I think we used to call them merit marks, and then I can't remember. We used to have a name for, it wasn't demerit marks, but there was a name for marks that you got kind of deducted if they weren't merit marks. I can't remember what it was. It's so long ago. Good Lord, it's so long ago since I've been at school. I can't even remember. But Helen says it's called, back in the day, it was called spots. So there you go. So one of the things as well, building trust. It's going to take time and effort by you. Active listening, communicate, openness, honesty. And I said before, it might be the first time they are sharing their story, the first time they've been listened to. And no, you're not being disruptive at all. No, you're not. You're not being disruptive. For me, this is part of, I've met somebody recently who started this online thing. She stopped it. She said she really misses out on the kind of interaction. And when I do in-person training, that's what I really, really love. It's not so much the content that I deliver, but I really do enjoy the question, the conversation with the individuals. That's why I like, yes, online stuff can work, but I really like the in-person, because what you do in person, you pick up the vibe, and then what happened quite often, I go off script. If somebody asks a question, I'm never ever tied to the script. I have a session prepared and I'm not tied to getting through it, but what's in the room at the moment and what are the needs. So you're not being disruptive whatsoever. So building trust, how we do that takes time and effort of you. Focus on active listening, communication, open, be honest, and maybe for the person, your partner, it's the first time they've been listened to. Also, it's the first time they're hearing the story. Sometimes this story's been inside their head for years, and you're creating a space so that they can hear their story for the first time. And sometimes there's a silence. These are some counseling tips. Sometimes there's a silence, and our tendency is to fill the silence. And sometimes what you need to do is to allow the silence to happen, because it's the first time they're hearing the story, and it's the first time they are allowing the story to sink in. And what can happen while you're creating that comfortable space, that safe space, and you're listening, they're telling their story for the first time, and the silence, sometimes it's in that moment they realize the level of behavior that they're put up with. Until then, until that moment, they haven't realized. But you've given them the space to talk through their story without pushing them, without coercing them, without judging or condemning them. But you've listened to them, you believe them, you acknowledge their story, you validate their feelings, and it's the first time they are being heard. And for those of us who've listening, I made a comment about the doctor surgery earlier on. I didn't quite finish it, but just to say that being heard is therapeutic in itself, and you don't need to be a counselor to offer that space to somebody. So don't be afraid of silences, giving them time to talk. Understand that trauma survivors may have triggers causing a whole range of unpleasant emotions. They may not even be too sure what they're feeling. So it's triggers, and the triggers can be sight, sound, smells, situations, memory, songs. Those can be triggers for people. And some of the triggers, well, if half the time they're not good triggers at all. So be aware of the triggers together. And also what you do, you develop a plan that if a person, so both of you sit together and you say, right, when you're triggered, how do you want me to be? Do you want me to hold you? Do you want me to hold your hand? What plan are we going to have? So if and when you're triggered and we're together, I know what to do. Talk about it. You can't, the person who has had the relationship trauma cannot assume the person, their partner, knows what to do. Quite often we don't. But if we can talk about things, it's really, really helpful. So be aware of the triggers, develop a plan. So both of you, as I said before, need to be aware of each other's needs. So if somebody gets triggered, what's their need? You as the partner who have not gone through that experience, what do you need as support from the person you're with? So it's not all one way. It can't be all one way. Okay, so navigating triggers and flashbacks, these are for both partners. Now, this is really, really important. Triggers are not weaknesses. It's a normal response to trauma. I say this to people when we talk about bereavement, and they tell me how they're feeling, and it can be pretty horrendous at times. And I'll say to them, you are feeling perfectly normal and natural to an abnormal situation. I think I've put somewhere, yeah, I've got some training online on Thursday, and when there's a loss, and the person said, "Good evening, Paula. Really good to see you this evening. Thank you for taking the time, and all of you, thank you for taking the time to watch and listen in." To do with loss, and this is not about loss necessarily losing somebody, but she says, whatever you feel on the inside due to loss is correct. Whatever you feel on the inside due to loss is correct. There's no right or wrong. You feel what you feel. So triggers are not weakness, but it's normal response to trauma. So what's needed at the time is kindness, compassion is what's needed. Professional help is needed. It's always there. And a willingness to grow together. I want to say this, it's really important, and I don't want to forget it. So you're with somebody, relationship trauma, and things are going really, really well. You're working things through, you've got a plan together, and then something happens, and it's almost like the person has regressed. Just hold on for a moment. So it's gone pants, it's gone south. And I want you to, if you don't remember anything this evening, I'd like you to remember this. When things go wrong, we make a mistake, or it goes pants or south, or whatever adjective we want to use, or I've blown it now, all that type of stuff we use, and we can get really messed up with it. Ask yourself the question. Change it to a learning moment and ask yourself the question, what can I learn from this? Use it as a learning moment. It's very helpful in solution-focused therapy. So solution-focused therapy doesn't focus on problems. It focuses on people's strengths. So somebody can be going on really, really well, and then there's a glitch. So they're coming to see you maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Oh, I've made a real mess up this week. What do you mean? Well, explain to me what's happened. So they explain to you what's happened, and then you realise it's not a glitch at all. It's a learning moment. Okay, that happened. If it happened again, what can you do? What can you do differently? Now that you've seen it again, do you realise what you could have done differently? What have you learned from that? What do you need to do differently next time? So what you're doing, you're looking at a real situation. Some people call it psychological reframing. It's happened. but you're asking the question, how can I learn from this? And it really helps you to move on forward. So really get a hold of that. So navigating triggers and flashbacks, self-care for both partners when you're dealing with a relationship trauma. Self-care is really important for you and for your partner who's suffering with relationship trauma, for you to become a better partner and a better support for your partner, and you becoming a better support for yourself. Self-care, educate yourself. You know, sometimes I think self-care is just about meditation and mindfulness. No, self-care is also educating yourself. I've written here, power is knowledge. No, knowledge applied is power. We can have lots of knowledge. In fact, we do have lots of knowledge. But if we don't apply it, there's no power. So knowledge is power. No, knowledge applied is power. That's what makes the difference. So you read about relationship trauma, the impact, the signs, the symptoms, possibility, what it has may have on your relationship. You learn about it and you put the thing into learning, into practice, so you can become better. Okay, we're quickly switching on. Seek professional help. I've said that many times. Now, seeking professional help doesn't mean to say that the relationship is on its last legs. You're getting support because you're not saying that the relationship is weak or failing, but you need support. So it needs strength and courage to ask for the help you need to improve the relationship. What counselors can do, they can help you to develop better communication skills. They can help you to learn better coping mechanisms, more healthy coping mechanisms. They can help you to understand what's happening to your partner in terms of relationship trauma. And even the person who has experienced relationship trauma, they too can understand what's happening to them psychologically and emotionally. So what it does, it provides clarity. When we have knowledge and understanding, we can operate a lot better. We operate more effectively and efficiently, and quite often we feel less guilty and overwhelmed with it all because we've got some knowledge and it helps us to understand what's taking place. Also, counsellors are really good for providing knowledge of maintaining good mental health under stress. And these are things that you have to be on all the time. Lots of stress happening at the moment with lots of people, and they think that a one-off thing can help, but no, you have to be on it all the time because stress is there all the time, so you need to manage yourselves effectively. So the importance of boundaries. Boundary is kind of making an edge or a limit to keep things out, to keep things in, and boundaries are a way of building trust and safe places. So let me give you, and also support. So let me give you an idea. Boundaries are, when you feel angry, I don't want you to start throwing things. Let's talk about it. So in my work as a counsellor, not to relationship trauma, but in my work as a counsellor, certainly for 3 decades, I would say many years, but over 3 decades now, there are some people when they get angry, they throw things. And I don't mean one-off, they throw things, smash the phone, smash cups, smash glasses, throw pots. So I've never ever condemned anybody, but I say to them this: what is it that you're trying to express that you're unable to express in words? So when you throw something, when you throw your phone or your cup or the glass or the pot or whatever, you throw it, you smash it, you smash the side cabinet, you smash the window, you put the pot through the glass door of the kitchen. Ask the question, what is it that you're trying to express in words but you're having difficulty doing so, or something of that description? So the throwing of the object is symbolizing frustration. And that for them has become a learnt way of operating when they're angry. But by asking that question alone and asking them to stop and think, what takes place over a period of time is that they will still get angry, but they stop throwing things. So the boundaries in a relationship could be the person you're with in a experiencing relationship trauma, when they get angry, frustrated, they throw things, and they're not even discriminatory where they throw things. So one of the boundaries can be, if you feel you're going to throw something, leave the room, go out for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, let's come back and talk about it. So what you're doing, you want to break a cycle that almost has become embedded in the person's way of being. So setting boundaries is really important. Boundaries nurture love, so both partners can feel respected and valued. That is really important. In fact, you don't need to tell somebody that you respect them. or value them, but just by being with them long enough, they know that you respect them and you value them and you love them and you care for them. As I said before, do not underestimate listening. Listening is learning, and you might have to do loads of it. I'll be finishing in a few minutes, but I just wanted to advertise. I don't know if it's still come up now. Will it come up? Yes, it will. Just like to advertise. You'll see the link in a moment, and I think as time goes on, it's certainly on YouTube and Facebook. I don't think you'll see it on LinkedIn or Twitter. But I will be advertising it during the weeks. My training that's happening on the 11th, Saturday, the 11th of November in Walsall, just off the motorway, the M5, in a really nice building, is betrayal, consequences, from consequences to recovery. This whole thing around betrayal, how it's affected us and what we can do to move on and live effective adult lives if our start has been characterized by betrayal by loved ones, caregivers and parents. So moving forward, building a strong connection or strong relationship after trauma. Healing from racial trauma is a journey full of ups and downs. Remember, it's great on the ups, but the downs are learning moments where the two of you get together. What went wrong? Could be that they lost their temper or and went pants, or you listened to them, got frustrated, and you jumped in and kind of made things worse. So you look at these, so ups and downs, you look at it together. One of the things that's really important, and I'll be honest, sometimes I don't do this very well. If, for example, that your partner habitually has thrown things, and they get to the point whereby they get angry and you realize for the first time, they realize they've not thrown anything, celebrate that victory. It is a victory if your partner, your spouse, for X amount of years, when they get angry, they throw stuff to the point whereby you're either ducking and you need to run out of the room, but they get to a point where they're angry, and you know they're getting angry, and they decide to talk to you. You know pretty much the cycle is on its way to be broken. Celebrate the victory. I recall many years ago, I was working at a hospital and I was on duty, and I was on duty as a counsellor, and I got this phone call from this woman who had made many attempts on her life. When she hit a crisis, she would go to the bathroom cabinet and take loads of paracetamols. It was a Friday. I'll never forget it. It was a Friday. Her counsellor wasn't on that day. And I remember she called in a right state, real, if you're from Sheffield, you know what I mean, right state. Anyway, what happened was that we had a chat, 10, 15 minutes, and she told me what she normally do. So I said to her, what have you just done? She said, what do you mean? I said, what have you just done? She said, well, I just phoned you. But I said, what would you normally do? She said, I normally go to the cabinet and take tablets. She'd not realized that she'd actually began to break the cycle. She broke the cycle of every time she got stressed, whatever was happening, she'd take loads of tablets. And I said, right, now that you've done it once, it's now keep repeating this new way of being so it becomes a part of your day-to-day functioning, that when you get stressed, you talk to somebody, you don't run to the bathroom cabinet. So I spoke to her counsellor the following week, and then I had some conversation on the phone, and it worked really, really well. So celebrate those small victories. I've met choosing quite a big one, but celebrate those small victories. Overcoming the challenges of someone with relationship theory, patience, I've said already, empathy, understanding, but also it provides an opportunity for growth. That's so important, that it provides an opportunity for growth. Always offer kindness, curiosity. What's going on? What's going on for my partner? What's going on for me while all this is happening? It could be while your partner's been triggered, you realize that you're quite impatient. You're short-tempered, you've got a short fuse, and you may realize, you know what, this is really highlighting in me that, you know what, I'm not really understanding at all. I'm rather impatient. I'm not, and it might also mean you might realize I'm not very kind and not very compassionate, but here's somebody, I really like her or him, and I want us to invest in the relationship. So I'm going to have to learn a lot. It's not about blame. It's not about it's your fault. It's about when things happen and you step back, you reflect on things a bit. How can you learn, or what you're learning that enables you to become a better human being and a better partner? So compassion for you and your partner, working together. That's really important, providing a strong relationship for the future. So what is horrible today, if you work on it consistently, persistently, with love, compassion, and care, it can really build the foundation for a really strong relationship for the future. This is what I write. I'm going to end on this. The journey is seldom smooth. Celebrate the victories, learn from setbacks. So the journey is not always smooth. So when it's going good, enjoy it. Small victories, celebrate them. Setbacks, learn from them. So in a sense, the whole journey, as tough as it is, can be one of growth, learning, development, and transformation for both you as the partner, the supportive partner, and you as the individual who has experienced relationship trauma. Anyway, that is me. That's our series finished. I hope you got something from it. If you know somebody who has experienced relationship trauma, or you have a friend who is talking about their partner and you get a sense it might be relationship trauma, point them to these videos. They're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, on Dr. Delroy, they're on Twitter, and they're on LinkedIn. This stuff, let folks know it's there. Share it with individuals. If you know individuals, share it with your networks. If you're on LinkedIn, share it with your networks. On Facebook, the same thing. YouTube, share it with your networks. There's some good stuff out there. I made mention of some people already in terms of learning about relationship trauma. Gabor Mate, Stephen Bartlett on Diary of the CEO. He interviewed some brilliant people. Mel Robbins, Gabor Mate. There's the Crappy Childhood Fairy. That's a brilliant resource as well for child complex trauma. There's some amazing stuff out there. Andrew Huberman, excellent stuff out there that you can learn from before you get a book. I've seen a book that I want to get, and it's on YouTube. It is audio. It's 10 hours worth. And I don't need to tell you what the book is, but it's 10 hours worth of stuff. So I'll be listening to it pretty soon. So listen, enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy the rest of your week. Wrap up warm, keep dry as best as you can, and I'll see you all next week. And you'll see me in between now and next Tuesday, popping up with adverts and so forth. But wish you well. If there's no comments, my usual questioner is not here this evening. Thanks, Sonia. Person who normally asks questions. I know most of you just listen, and some of you listen and you don't acknowledge, and that's fine. Just by the mere fact that you watch, I'm just really, really appreciative. So yeah, thanks, Jeff, and yeah, wish you all a pleasant evening. Go well, take care, speak to you soon, all the best, bye.